Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Hi, and welcome to phase 2 of our mini trauma recovery talk. We are talking about finding purpose through recovery, a paradigm shift in suicide prevention. We covered phase 1, which was the phases of trauma. Now we're going to cover a new perspective on suicide prevention. And in that new perspective, we are going to briefly discuss the traditional approach to suicide prevention and introduce the concept of a paradigm shift focused on finding purpose through trauma recovery. And I can say that I actually found my purpose in trauma recovery because I understood and learned what complex PTSD is. And complex PTSD or PTSD trauma can begin from the womb. I've shared that as a part of my testament that trauma recovery is possible. And this subject is a little more personal to me. Well, actually, the whole trauma talk is, but very, very personal to me because when you're suffering through trauma, that is a circling thought that you want to end it. You want the pain to stop. Sometimes you don't feel like you can live into your own skin. But I tell you, I am a testament that I am so grateful that I was able to move beyond the suicidal ideations and move into a brighter future by getting a grasp and by understanding what was this all about, right? And to find my purpose. So definitely we can find our purpose in trauma recovery. I'm a living testament to that, with trauma on top of unresolved trauma. And this is how I know so clearly firsthand, not just being a certified trauma recovery practitioner, but also knowing firsthand how trauma can have such devastating effects on your life when you do not address it, when it's not addressed. And in our children, that's why it's important that we are vigilant and that we understand them and that we talk with them and that we allow them to have free range, to be respectful, but to be open so that we can really, really find out what they're thinking and what's really going on in their life, because we've created a safe space for them to talk. Okay, so phase 1 is acknowledge the trauma. Importance of identifying and validating traumatic experiences. And we have often swallow it and bury it, and that's unhealthy. How unaddressed trauma contributes to suicidal thoughts and hopelessness. When we haven't addressed it, that trauma becomes progressive. So it's not up and out like we subscribe over here. Up and out, it's okay. We shame people and tell them, keep your stuff inside, keep your stuff at home, or we make them feel like because they're having a challenge with dealing with it, that there is something wrong with them or they're weak. And that's the total opposite of it. When you can be courageous and get that trauma up and out and utilize the self-help modalities that we talk about here, when you use that and help it up and out, you can walk into a better and brighter future. Understanding the connection between trauma and suicide, exploring the psychological and emotional toll of unresolved trauma. That's what we're doing here. We're exploring it so that we can hear it in different voices. We bring on a different pathway to trauma recovery authors. We bring on different therapists and coaches, because if you can hear it and listen to it over and over again, you can start to bring it up and out. There's a critical role of trauma-informed care in preventing suicide. And that's why one of our programs that we rolled out is a program that helps all of us, really, everybody in the world can gain from understanding trauma and understand being trauma informed, because then we have the tools and we're equipped to work with other people. Going to speed this up a little bit here, but building emotional resilience, that means the steps to regain control and rebuild self-care post-trauma, protocol tools and coping mechanisms to support emotional resilience. That is another way for us to for us to start to work through the trauma, right? We're finding purpose through healing. And we are going to walk through phases 4, 5, and 6 and come to the conclusion on our next episode. So we're breaking up the new perspective of suicide prevention into this bite-sized piece. So if you go over that, we did phase 1, acknowledge the trauma, phase 2, understanding the connection between trauma and suicide, and phase 3, building emotional resilience. We'll tackle 4, 5, and 6 on the next mini trauma recovery talk. I do hope these mini sessions are becoming helpful and that is helping to bring us all to awareness of why it's important to become trauma informed. I'll see you on the next mini talk. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.